I hope he changes his mind.
On Saturday, Zelensky and Stammer signed an agreement to accelerate $2.8 billion worth of loans to Ukraine. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
It's Hollywood's biggest night, what you might have missed during the 97th Academy Awards. Next.
And we are not going to be missing out on this next major weather maker coming on in. A round of strong and severe thunderstorms looking probable by Tuesday evening. I'll track it all out for you hour by hour coming up in your Waay 31 Storm Tracker forecast.
Now, Waay 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle with 31 Triple Doppler.
Well, good Sunday evening, everyone. Tuesday is a 31 alert day as we are expecting a round of strong and severe thunderstorms coming through. A very similar sort of scenario to what we had a couple weeks ago, which means we could see some of the same results that we had. This is the latest on the severe weather risk area. It is highest to our west. As we take you across North Alabama, the risk does decrease, but it remains in place. We're looking at a level 1 or 2 depending on your location. Highest likelihood of seeing strong and severe storms will be out here towards the shoals. And then as everything comes eastward Tuesday evening into Tuesday night, that threat will likely diminish somewhat. It doesn't completely go away. This is kind of the latest on the timeline that we expect this all to roll on through, and this will be for the strong and severe thunderstorm activity coming on through. Between 7 and 10 p.m. if you're out here towards the shoals and northwest Alabama. Tuesday evening between 8 and 11, the I-65 corridor, that would include the Athens, Decatur, Huntsville area, Fayetteville, Tennessee, down to Coleman. And between, we'll say, a window of about 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. if you're over here in Sand Mountain, so Scottsboro to Guntersville to Fort Payne and all that area towards the Georgia border, that would be the timing that we are looking at this. Numbers could shift a little bit as far as the time of arrival and time of departure, but I think we're within probably a good 1 or 2 hour window of when we are anticipating that all this will come through and come together. Let's show you the latest of future radar. I'm going to go ahead and skip to Tuesday because we just don't have a whole lot going on between now and then. 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, waking up to overcast skies, but no precip yet. And in fact, most of the day Tuesday looks like it will be dry, with the first rain not showing up until maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon out here towards the Mississippi border. And what we do see develop initially, at this point we don't anticipate will carry a severe weather threat. What we do expect is a line of storms that will come on in that will pose a risk of seeing some severe weather. By the time we hit 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, that approaching and moving in from the west into the northwest corner of the state. Again, moving towards the Huntsville area by 10 p.m. or so on Tuesday evening. Notice the line fairly stout, so this will likely be a well-organized squall line coming on through. And even though just on paper, some of the severe weather parameters don't look particularly alarming here in North Alabama, once you get a well-developed squall line, that can kind of create its own environment. And so that risk of severe weather will be with us from I-65 and even points eastward. We are seeing indications, so this will come through pretty quick. So this is not going to be something that's going to linger 5, 6 hours across the area. I'd say a good 3 or 4 hours and it will be in and out of here. And again, close to midnight or shortly thereafter, Tuesday night is when we expect this to be gone, with quiet but cooler weather coming in for midweek. This is a breakdown of the threats. Gusty wind, the main one, 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. There's a medium threat for that. But like we saw a couple weeks ago, there's going to be a lot of wind energy and a lot of spin available in the atmosphere. So we can't rule out just a brief spin up. Unlikely it would be anything more than that, just based on the overall severe weather setup. But with so much spin in the atmosphere, would not take much for a brief tornado. Again, kind of like what we saw a couple weeks ago. I don't think flooding will be a big concern, as again, this will come through fairly quickly and limit the overall rain totals. The other part of the forecast is wind gust outside of any thunderstorm activity. And as we hit Tuesday afternoon and evening, we may be talking wind gusts upwards of 40 miles per hour, a little bit higher, and that in and of itself could be enough to bring some trees down and cause some power outages. So those will be the main impacts that we'll be watching out of this next big weather maker. Tonight, it's just cold but quiet, again around freezing in the morning. From there, we'll warm up nicely. Early day clouds, afternoon sun. We kick back in a southerly breeze, and that will steadily warm us into the upper 50s by the lunch hour. And tomorrow afternoon, I am expecting temperatures about average for early March as we top out in the low and mid 60s for your Monday. Enjoy the calm tomorrow. Tuesday is our 31 alert day with storms coming in Tuesday evening into Tuesday night, some of those on the severe side. 73 degrees ahead of the storms. Behind them, we will get a little bit of a cool off, but we do return to quiet weather by midweek, back into the 50s for your highs. 60s are back Friday. Another weather maker coming in late this week into the weekend, not looking like a severe weather threat, but maybe some showers early into the weekend. And then don't forget the time change. We do spring forward this weekend. Set your clocks ahead by 1 hour before you go to bed on Saturday night. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back. Hollywood's biggest night was full of first-time winners. Excellent performances, of course, and tributes to those impacted by the LA fires. ABC's Jacqueline Lee is at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood with a recap of the night.
There's 23 awards to give its all time to perfection.
The 97th Academy Awards kicked off with first-time host Conan O'Brien warming up the crowd before the awards started.
It's Hollywood's biggest night that starts at 4 in the afternoon.
The awards also acknowledging those impacted by the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles and honoring first responders.
On behalf of everyone in Greater Los Angeles, thank you for all that you do.
The ceremony did not include live performances by the Best Original Song nominees this year, but rather performances celebrating the filmmaking community and some of its legends.
And the Oscar goes to?
The major awards of the night taking center stage. Best Supporting Actor.
Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain.
Best Supporting Actress.
Zoe Saldana.
And I am the first American of Dominican origin to accept an Academy Award, and I know I will not be the last.
Best Actress.
Mikey Madison.
This is a dream come true. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow.
Best Actor.
Adrian Brody.
Acting is a very fragile profession. It looks very glamorous, and in certain moments it is, but the one thing that I've gained having the privilege to come back here is to have some perspective.
And Best Picture.
Honora.
Long live independent film.
From the red carpet at the Oscars, Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Hollywood.
Coming up in sports, hear what Auburn had to say after capturing a conference title and what Nate Oates said after a jaw-dropping loss to Tennessee. That's next on the SEC Report.
Way 31 Sports is brought to you by Current Electrical. Now from the Current Electrical Sports Center, Way 31 Sports with Trevor Denton.
What's up, North Alabama? One time I left the house without my keys, my wallet, and my phone. 0 for 3. Well, that's what Alabama's loss to Tennessee kind of felt like. It was a heartbreaker to a hated rival. It might have taken them out of a 1-seed spot in the NCAA tournament. And worst of all, it gave Auburn the undisputed SEC regular season title. Ouch. The ironic part is that, unlike me on that fateful and forgetful day, Alabama might be playing its best ball right now. They went into a difficult road environment and led the number 6 team by 4 with 36 seconds left. But it's the very end of the game that will cause a sleepless night or two for the coaching staff. Alabama committed a 5-second violation trying to get the ball in bounds. Then, with 3.8 seconds left, they allowed the Volunteers to pull up for an open look from half court. Afterwards, Nate Oates put one hand up in the air and said, "My bad."
I'm going to take most of the blame in the last 30 seconds. It's on me. Got subbed our bigs out to get the rebound before I should have. Shouldn't have subbed them out until after we secured the rebound. So that was on me, and then I had a chance to call timeout. Coaches can call timeouts on the underneath at a bounce play. And at 4, I should have called it.
An interesting wrinkle. It looked like Volunteers coach Rick Barnes was trying to call a timeout during that last play, but he could not get the refs' attention. Well, it ended up working out in their favor. Speaking of working out in their favor, Auburn posted a video of players singing Rocky Top when that game went final. They weren't belting that out just because they hate the color crimson. The result officially made them the outright SEC regular season champions. So Bruce Pearl wins his 5th conference title since arriving on the Plains a decade ago. He described what makes this year's group championship material.
I told Jani Broom, Dylan Carwell, and Chaney Johnson, I'm empowering you guys. We're going to make this big lineup work. They were all seniors. They had all paid their dues. Whether we won or not, they had all earned the right for me to not bring in a big-time player over their head. That was when the chemistry was built. And guess what? Those guys appreciated that. They trusted us.
What an incredible season they've had so far. Now, starting point guard Denver Jones had to leave the Kentucky game early with an injury, but Pearl says it was a bone bruise and that he'll be back soon. Seeding is all set for the SEC women's basketball tournament, and we could see an Auburn-Alabama matchup very early on. The 14th-seeded Tigers face 11th-seeded Florida on round 1 on Wednesday. The winner will face Alabama Thursday night. The Crimson Tide earned 1 bye with the number 6 seed. The top overall seed went to South Carolina over Texas. Why? Because of a coin flip. Staying with conference tournaments, UNA's matchups are all set in the ASUN brackets. The Lions men will face Austin Peay in the quarterfinals tomorrow in Florence. Now, these teams got a little bit of beef with the Governors deciding not to shake UNA's hands back in February. That should make for a spicy tournament game tomorrow at 6. Already a sellout there. The UNA women will face Lipscomb in the quarterfinals on Saturday in Nashville. The NFL Combine wrapped up today, and Carson Vincent is one of the best stories that we saw in Indianapolis. The former Alabama A&M offensive lineman was the only HBCU player invited, and he has the chance to be the first Bulldogs draft pick since 2011. Vincent took the field for position workouts today, and he ran a 5.12 in the 40-yard dash. Not bad for the 6'7", 314-pound big man. We'll be right back after this break.
Carson Vincent.
right, so Jeff, we can expect a little bit of rain on Tuesday.
Yeah, some stormy weather. Rain would be nice. Storms, not so much, but we just got to take what Mother Nature's going to throw at us. It is a 31 alert day due to the threat of severe weather coming through Tuesday evening. We'll get new info overnight tonight, a new severe weather outlook as well. Meteorologist Amber Kulik will be in tomorrow morning with the latest details.
All right, thanks so much. Don't go anywhere. Law Call is next.
This is Way 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to Way 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions about workers' compensation. An employee that gets hurt on the job won't be able to work. How do they get paid? How do they pay any of their bills? If you've suffered through that, you've had work-related injuries, this is your chance to call in and ask your questions. The system is designed to protect both the employers and the employees, but many employers don't fully understand how the system works, and those who do sometimes take advantage of employees that don't understand how the system works. So if you file a claim, okay, first off, how do you do it? Are you in trouble if you don't do it right? Has your employer discouraged you from filing or even told you you can't or fired you for filing? Tonight's your chance to call in and ask your questions. The 31 Law Call number, 256-536-0077. You can call in and be live on the air, or you can also text us to that same number. You can also email your questions. You send it to lawcall@waytv.com, and when we get to a show that's on point, we pull some out. We've got some of your questions tonight. William Meservey is here from Timberlake League and Brooks. Good to have you here.
Glad to be here, Sharon.
You guys do workers' comp, but they also do all kinds of personal injury cases, including something like, we've got some video tonight. We like to pull out some video. You make the law call. You take a look at what's going on here. So hopefully our stormy, icy weather is behind us here. But you get something like this where you get a pile up and you start asking, are you always that one? Are you always at fault if you're the person who hits somebody from behind?
It's hard to figure out where this one begins and ends, frankly. And it, is really just a series of ongoing collisions. I would say that the majority of icy road collisions that you see do not involve quite so many vehicles, right? Particularly around here. But one of the things that a lot of people fail to realize is that the speed limit is not the only indicator for what the speed on the road is.
Okay.
What the law actually says is you can go the speed limit when the road is in an acceptable condition to go the speed limit. But you have a duty not to travel at a speed that exceeds the appropriate speed for the conditions of the roadway. And so when you look at a road like that, with obvious ice and difficulties and problems with it, there's going to be a duty there to travel at whatever the safe speed is to where you don't lose control of your automobile. But trying to sort out liability in a puzzler like that is going to be quite the task, right? And so, that footage obviously wasn't shot in Alabama, but, it would depend on the state that you were in and what that state's laws were. But I would assume that the vast majority of those people are going to hope that they've got full coverage. Because it's going to be hard to pin that on just any one person.
Hard to figure out whose vehicles would be where, so you might not ever, I bet you would never have a full diagram of whose car was where to know who was in front, who was in back, because by the time the weather lightens up, a bunch of those cars are going to drive away, and
that's right.
What's left?
That video is just pure chaos, but typically, in those type of situations, you want to travel at a very safe speed, slower than the speed limit. Particularly, somewhere like Alabama where we don't get a lot of ice on the roads.
Yeah.
And so we don't have a bunch of snow shovels out there. We don't have a bunch of salt on the road, and to their credit, I think Huntsville does a really good job with that.
Yeah.
But, it's some of these states operate
They just
year-round.
keep going, right?
They just go through it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we don't have to deal with that on a routine basis here.
Our northern neighbors make fun of us for Alabama travel. So tonight we're talking about workers' compensation. So workers' comp is an insurance. How does workers' comp work? Who is this supposed to protect?
Yeah, so it's really a compromise. And so it goes back to the Industrial Revolution. You had all these people coming off farms to work in factories. There was no OSHA, and you had a lot of people getting hurt, maimed, or killed. Now, if those people could prove that their employer had failed to provide a safe work environment, that was the common law theory of negligence, then their families would be okay. They'd get these big settlements and they'd recover for things like pain and suffering and mental anguish and all the things you can typically recover for in a common law injury case, whether it be an auto accident or premises liability. But the vast majority of the people could not prove it was the company's fault, and their families would go hungry. And so labor and management came together and developed what is known as the workers' compensation system. And unlike other types of injury law, this is codified law. That means this is law that has been passed through the legislature down in Montgomery. And Alabama's workers' compensation system is based off Minnesota's. And essentially what it does is it says, look, those big settlements, they're going away.
Okay.
All right, there's no pain and suffering, there's no mental anguish in a workers'